Starting with the end in mind is a concept that a lot of horsemen adhere to. But today we're going to share a concept with you that is starting at the finish. So we call this destination training. Now I'm going to give you a couple of examples here about destination training, but basically you can use it in a lot of different situations. You can't use it in every situation, but you can use it in a lot of different situations with a lot of different obstacles and a lot of different patterns. An example might be if I wanted my horse to back up for a distance, so I'm backing him away from me for a distance, you might get to noticing that the further the horse goes away, the less effort they put into it, and the more you have to apply energy to keep them moving. Well, that's if you're just backing them up. But if you're backing them to somewhere they knew to go, then what's going to happen is the closer they get to the destination, the more confident they will get in the answer, and that destination would help draw them. So we use this concept in a number of different situations. Here's one. Let's say we had a goal to back a horse over a pole. Well, if I was going to teach this, firstly I wouldn't make it a pole that would roll. So what I've got here is a half round post on the ground. We'll say we'll send our horse over it multiple times. Don't worry, Max has been over it multiple times. So they're confident with it. And rather than starting them out there and trying to back them to the end of the line and over this pole, which means, they haven't got a lot of visibility behind them. They've got to move their back feet over. It's just easier to go out, right? We won't do that. What we're going to do is start them right here. So this is going to be his little place. I'd start him right here. I'd have him hang out for a good period of time, rest a little bit. He hasn't done anything yet, but we'll have him rest a little bit. And then I'm going to try and set it up to where I initiate a bit of a contrast to where he starts to understand that being here is actually the goal. So it could be that I do something like this. I come to this side. His side's the neutral side, my side's the active side. So I could draw him over, and as he comes over, I could put him back. Now, what you just saw is it didn't take much to draw him over. He was thinking about coming with me anyway, but I added more energy to back him up. And then on the other side, there's a release. And nothing happens. We just hang out. Now, really, it's a wash, rinse, and repeat deal. The point of it is he starts at the destination, he comes a little bit away from the destination, and then with more energy than it took to come away from it, you put him back. So we could draw him over, and we put him back. Okay, we're using just a little more energy than is needed to put him back, but it creates a greater contrast. And the other thing that creates a contrast, the release is there. The release wasn't when he came forward into energy. Okay, so I applied a little pressure. So there's information coming from that pressure that's saying this isn't actually where we want you to be. So the hard thing we know is get 4 feet over, but we're not going to start with 4. We'll start with 1, and then we'll go to 2. And before too long, you'll see he'll actually get reluctant to come forward because he's got that draw of the release point, which is the other side of this pole. Now, this isn't the first time we've done this with Max, so this is, hi, here's one we baked earlier type of deal. So we'd proceed with this little by little, and we're trying to feel for the horse having the willingness to go back. I'm creating that by putting more energy on this side and the release on the other side. And there's no pause on this side. So it is a wash, rinse, and repeat. And he gets to rest there a lot. When you're doing this for the first time with your own horse, you have to judge when you should bring him forward a little bit more. You need to also judge how much energy you should use to back him up. Of course, this is for this particular one. Sometimes you'll be doing a lateral movement. Sometimes you'll be doing forward movement, but you get the idea. Wherever you want them to find the destination, you've got to think about how much energy you need to put into getting them there. Because what we're trying to do is cause them to link the point you want them at with the point they want to be at, okay? So that is going to be the release point. Now let's fast forward this a bit. So we'll say we've got all this, and then I say, Max, you should back up. And he, even though it's a half round post, he still managed to trip on it and stand on it, but not to worry. So I just went from showing you the beginning to somewhere near the end. We skipped out the in-between bits only because we've done this before, so this isn't going to be a 45-minute video. But you can see how he's starting to think about this being the place of release. So a little reluctant to come forwards, and then if I bring my energy up here and I say, Max, you need to get back there. Yeah, a little crooked, Max, but never mind. So the more you would play with that, the more you put effort into that, the more they will start to hunt that destination. Okay, so that's one example, and we're about to show you another. We'll try a little lateral move over something. There we go, Max. Same process, starting at the end, bringing him over a little bit, sideways off, resting a lot, lots of resting. So, standing over it a little bit, sideways off, and then eventually building up to where we start at the beginning. But the starting point is at the end. So it doesn't matter if we're going forwards, backwards, right, left, up or down. Providing they can understand the destination and start at that point, we can use destination training. Okay, it's a tricky little one, but it's the same deal. If they know to make the turn, if they know to find the end right there, they're going to put a little effort into it. They're not going to be trying to do something other than what you're asking them to do. So the idea again, if we want to do this L, is to develop it by starting at the finish, one step forward, a little more hustle back than forwards, another rest. I don't want to give you the wrong idea. This is not a fast process. It's a slow process to equal a fast end result. Okay, but the process itself is slow. Then pretty quick, you could approach it from any direction, and they've got that. So just another one for the destination. Okay, there's no prizes in guessing how I started going over this pole. We started at the finish and then built up to what we're doing here. Now, in addition to thinking about getting to the end, as we approach this, if I approach it right with my horse's ears facing it there and it's right between their ears, when I come around to do a little turn on the forehand, he's going to be probably too far forwards. So I'm going to ask him to yield from right to left, little quarter turn on the forehand, and that will have him step forward. So as I approach, my right knee is near enough facing that pole. Okay, so that's how we're facing, that's how we're starting. Come along here, so we're a little bit to the left of it, to this side of it. My knee's right up in it, and then a little turn on the forehand. It's under my boot. And there we are, we're at the finish.